Hi, I'm Uncle Rob, certified TEFL teacher in Ontario, Canada. Welcome to the CELPIP Masterclass. Everything you will learn in the next 35 minutes will completely change your approach in the CELPIP listening section of the test. We cover 7 proven strategies, from the detective mindset to signpost words to real Canadian English, and to beating the distractors. If you're preparing for CELPIP and permanent residency, then this is the video you've been looking for. Pull up a chair and let's get started. Hi, I'm Uncle Rob and welcome to the channel. If you're one of those many people who have trouble with the CELPIP listening section, or you just want to get some good strategies in order to do well on the listening section, then pull up a chair. I'm here to help. You're certainly not alone. And I'm not here to waste any more of your time. I want to tell you that the biggest reason of people who fail, actually of 95% of people who fail, the biggest reason is that they are listening to understand the question, and they should be listening to answer. That's it. They need to be listening to answer. Now, that's it. That's the secret sauce. Now, what I mean by that is the people that fail go in and they listen like it's a movie. They're letting the audio just wash over them, and they think they're going to understand. And no, your job is to hunt for specific information when that audio is being played. I'll give you a story. One of my students, brilliant engineer, great guy. We could talk about hockey, the weather, everything. And he came up to me and said, "Rob, I have failed the CELPIP listening section twice." I said, "I don't understand. I work in engineering and I can understand engineering English, which is, pretty advanced stuff. I talk to my colleagues, I get their jokes, I understand everything in meetings, but I still failed that stupid test." And I said to him, "Well," and I said, "It's understandable, and I'm going to tell you why, and I'm going to help." And I helped him. It was because, he being an engineer, he was a good student, because quite an advanced field of study. But he was going to the CELPIP test as a good student. He went in, he was a passive listener. He was trying to understand every single word. And if you do that, your brain can't handle that kind of information. You try to focus on every word, then you're going to start to panic, because it's a brain overload. And when that happens, you go back and think, what was that word again? And all of a sudden you've missed 2 sentences. You get to hear the CELPIP audio once. And once it's gone, you're not going to answer that test properly, because you'll have not heard what's been said. So once he learned that he had to stop being a polite student and realize that CELPIP, wasn't a polite chat over a cup of coffee at Tim Hortons. It's a game. And once he learned how to play the game, his score shot up. Oh, there's a quick favor I want to ask you before we dig in and I go through all the hacks for you and how to do well on this test. We're closing in on 1,000 subscribers. Yay. And when we hit it, I'm going to do an Ask Rob, Uncle Rob, anything video. And if you subscribe and when the video drops, you'll be notified. And I would like to answer any questions you might have, whether it's on CELPIP, excuse me, whether it's on Canadian life, Canadian culture, anything you want. Drop your questions in the comments below if you don't mind. And again, once again, hit subscribe so you don't miss it. So let's go back to the main business at hand. Look at the hacks here. I'm going to show you how to stop being a polite student. And I want you to start being a strategic detective. I want to change you from being a passive listener to an active hunter. And I promise it will change everything for you. So let's look at passive listening versus active listening. So the big mistake with passive listening is you're listening to understand, but not to listen to answer the question. So as a passive listener, you're trying to catch everything. You're trying to catch every word and every and every detail. And that's passive listening. It's like watching a movie and you're letting it just wash over you, and you're hoping some of the information sticks or gets in your brain. And unfortunately, for most people, your brain can't do that under pressure. The CELPIP is timed, and you only have so much time. And when a question is read to you, or aloud, the audio, it's only done once. So you have to listen well the first time. So if you listen and you hear a word you don't understand, don't panic. Just sit back and listen to the rest of it. And that way, you don't focus too much on the word you don't know, but you get the sentences for the question that you might otherwise miss if you stop focusing on what you don't know. Really zone in and listen on what you do know or can understand. And if you don't do it that way, you're not going to do well. So here's a solution. We're taking it from passive listener. We want you to become a detective. So we need you to switch your mindset. You're a hunter now. And what's your mission? For example, you're not there to understand why Brenda is unhappy with her phone bill. Your mission is to find the answer to question 3. So you're a detective looking for clues. You're not some stenographer in a courtroom or something trying to write every single word. The mental shift is the key. It's a difference between failing with great English and passing with a smart strategy. So how do we do it? Okay, let's get to the practical stuff. You need to become a detective. And remember I said you're going to be a hunter. Your hunt begins when you hear the first word. Many times when you look at CELPIP in the audio section, before they give you the audio, they might give you a word or a line that gives you context of what's coming up. For instance, if the word was landlord, you've got a few seconds before CELPIP test starts speaking. So during those few seconds, quickly go with your mind. Okay, landlord. In Canada, what do landlords and tenants talk about? Well, they talk about clearing the snow out of the driveways. They talk about late rent, leaky faucets, rent increases, noise complaints, other repairs, what have you, leases maybe. So try to come up with a little bit of a mental list for yourself, and then you'll be prepared going in to the question when it's actually read to you. And don't just glance at that sentence. You really need to focus on that sentence and get your brain working, priming for action. Okay? Now, also, when you look at the questions, scan the keywords. Are they asking who, what, where, or why in those questions for the test? So those are prompts. So make sure you pay attention to those key questions so that you can zero in and direct your answers accordingly. Let's use another example. Let's say the conversation, we'll use the landlord case again, but let's say it's about a conversation regarding a cottage rental. And the booking was canceled by the landlord. So right then you have to think, okay, why would a landlord cancel a good renter from renting their cottage? So maybe you think, well, maybe there's a storm that knocked out the power of cottages in the Muskokas, or maybe the cottage burned down, or maybe the plumbing exploded, or maybe the landlord made a mistake and double booked, and you don't get to use it because he promised it to somebody else. So think about that before the question is read aloud to you. It will help prime you to zero in on the answers that the questions are asking. Okay. Signpost words. Any good hunter doesn't get lost in the woods. They follow the signs. And for CELPIP, your signs are signpost words. Now, they are typically words like however, but, therefore, so, actually, for example, firstly, secondly. And when you hear one of those words, you got to perk right up. You go, ooh, guess why? Because the answer is coming next. So an example might be, we're all going to go camping at Algonquin Park for a long weekend. We had the tent, the food, everything was packed. However, the car wouldn't start. Or, however, I was sick. See, usually what a sentence will look for will follow a word like however. And that tells you, the word however tells you that something's about to change. And questions often talk about a different change in an environment or in a situation. Another word we can try this way. Try the word but. Say somebody's giving directions. They say, you can take the 401 Highway Express all the way to the airport, but maybe it's 5 o'clock and the traffic is busy. Or, but there's construction on the road and there's going to be delays and you might miss your plane. See, the but usually talks about something that you really should pay attention to and should really know. It will help you pay attention to those signpost words I meant, because the answer to questions often follow again right after. Listen first, write second. One of the fastest ways to burn out your brain is to try to listen and write at the same time. I've seen people trying to do this constantly, thousands of times. And people try to write down full sentences and they're going, oh, and their head is down, the pen's flying, and Meanwhile, while they're writing these sentences, the audio is speaking quicker than you can write. The audio has moved ahead and moved on without you. And you've missed the key point of the audio. So don't do this. It's a recipe for, excuse me, it's a recipe for disaster. Now, I'm going to tell you the solutions here. You need to separate the tasks when you're listening. Remember, first task, of course, is listen. But second, after that, I need you to take quick, tiny notes. Keywords of what you're listening. You know, keywords, symbols, abbreviations, and that's it. Just things that'll help jog your memory so that when it comes time to answer the questions, you have the information there. So let's use an example. Let's say the audio says, the package was supposed to be delivered Tuesday morning, but it was delayed by the snowstorm. Now, you don't write that sentence. The package was supposed to be delivered on Tuesday morning, but it was delayed because of the snowstorm. That's long and takes too much time. Just jot down some key points of that sentence. So you write down PKG for package, and maybe hyphen Tuesday AM for Tuesday morning, and hyphen delayed snow. That's it. Now you got the gist of that little bit. So when it comes time to answer a question, you're ready. Let's use another. I like to use nice, good Canadian examples because CELPIP is a Canadian test. So if you can use our Canadian culture, you're going to do better. So let's look at a Tim Hortons example. I love Tim Hortons. And I get no money from Tim Hortons. I give them money, so don't worry. But here's a Canadian one. Okay. Let's say someone's ordering at Tim Hortons and says, yeah, I'll get a large black coffee, 2 sugars. Oh, and a toasted bagel, everything on it with butter. Say, oh, actually, you know what? Make that a double instead of coffee. And your note should not be that whole story of what I just said. Just write down, remember the first person said, large black, 2 sugar. And then change their mind to a double. So go LGBLK, 2S for 2 sugar, arrow, DD, double. That's it. You've got the information right here. Large, black, 2 sugar, change to double instead. I didn't talk about the bagel, but you can say everything bagel with butter. So you go, everything bagel, butter, if you want to do. Okay. But see that by doing those quick notes, it frees up your brain so you can keep listening. And while doing that, you're still capturing the critical data in order. So learn how to take notes that way. If these strategies are starting to make sense to you and you're having a little aha moment, do your old Uncle Rob a favor, please. Hit that like button. Please subscribe. I don't want you missing the next video if this is helping. And in the comments below, let me know what your CLB score is. Are you a 5? Are you a 7? Are you a 9? I like to know where you're at. Sometimes it helps me in how I write these videos and gear them to the skill level that can make the most sense and help to everybody. Let's talk about some real Canadian English. Now, CELPIP is a Canadian test, so it uses real, everyday Canadian English. And you're not going to hear the perfectly slow, well-pronounced textbook English on the test. What you're going to hear is natural speech. And you're going to hear some different accents And one thing that you will often hear is what we call reductions. Now, reductions is when we take good, proper English and shorten the words and sometimes smash them together or say them so quickly that they sound like one word, but it's not perfect English. And reductions, we often use those when we get lazy. And again, I'll give you some examples. Instead of going to, like, I'm going to go to the store. You might hear somebody say, I'm gonna go to the store. Gonna, Gonna, instead of going to. That's a reduction. Like another one. I want to order fish and chips. You'd say, I wanna order fish and chips. Wanna, not want to, I wanna. So you'll hear that people talking like that, and when Canadians greet each other or want to know what you're up to, they might say, "How you doing?" Not "How are you doing?" "How you doing?" Or if you want to know what you are doing, they might say, "What you doing?" What you doing? Just smashes together. So it's pretty casual type of English, but it is part of our culture, and you need to get used to listening to that sort of thing. And how do you get good at listening to that? Well, I can say that probably immersion is your quickest and best way to do it. And it can be some of the most enjoyable ways to learn it. I don't mean immersion means you have to move to Canada or you have to hang out downtown and purposely engage with strangers to try to learn this English. No, it's not practical. And it's also expensive, and who has the time? So no, immerse yourself in things like, again, like I said, one, stop using generic English listening tests. They're okay, but it's not going to help you learn these reductions I've discussed. What you need to do is get your ears tuned into Canadian voices. So, if you listen to the radio, if you're in the car, listen to CBC Radio 1. That is just full of good Canadian English. You can watch some TV shows, Canadian ones, typically on CBC, but not only. I like Schitt's Creek with Eugene Levy, Catherine O'Hara, those are great. Kim's Convenience, Gene Yoon, I think. Anyway, those are funny. And it's good to hear the humor behind it too. And let's make the immersion process an enjoyable one. But what I'd like you to do is pay attention to the rhythm of these when they speak. What you doing? How you doing? Where do you want to go? There's a flow to these things, and it's not so proper. Not like, what are you doing? Where do you want to go? Canadians don't speak like that. Okay. So, and again, slang. You're going to hear certain slang words that are very, very Canadian, and you pick up on that. And it's nice if you can somehow, record Schitt's Creek or Kim's Convenience and hit the old pause button if you can. And if there's a word you don't know, you can always look it up. And online, there's all kinds of slang dictionaries to help you. But it gives you a feel of what everyday flow is like. And it'll help you for the CELPIP test, because you're already tuned to Canadian speaking, Canadian accents, Canadian reductions. Test will be easier to understand. And here's a few other fun Canadian examples. You might hear someone say, I'm heading out for a smoke. Be back in 5. Or, can you grab me a 2-4 on your way over? Probably shouldn't be saying that. Now, if you studied formal English, you'd be lost. You wouldn't know what that is. Very Canadian expressions. Like just heading out for a smoke, be back in 5. Okay. Heading out for a smoke, it's I'm going to get a cigarette, be back in 5 minutes. Or it's a quick break. Or can you grab me a 2-4 on your way over? A 2-4, when we sell beer, a case of beer, that's 24 bottles in the case. And we call those 2-4s. So grab me 2-4s, grab me a case of beer. So that is all too Canadian of an expression and are good examples. Elimination. Look, even the best of us won't always know what the true answer is 100% of the time. That's okay. And this is how the game or where the game can be played. So instead of trying to hunt for the right answer, try to eliminate answers that you know are incorrect. So the CELPIP test makers, they can get pretty sneaky. And what they like to do is use what is called distractors. And these are wrong answers to try to trap you into choosing, the wrong answer. So the classic trap they often use is to, in a question, ask you a word that you've heard, but paraphrased in a way that has a different meaning. And so it's put into a wrong context. So if you're a passive listener and you heard the word in the sentence and you go, oh yes, I heard that word. And you go in, start writing or check the answer because you heard a word, the exact word that was used. Well, that's not a good thing because you could be falling into that trap. The active listener, the hunter, listens to that word and goes, yes, I heard that word before, but is the question, what they're asking, is that what they mean when they use the word this time? So, the correct answer is not usually the exact answer as you hear it, but look for paraphrased answers. They often have similar words, but not the exact. So that's one way to help avoid traps. Let me give you an example, because you might have to listen to this a few times to understand. Let's say the CELPIP is giving you a news report about the the Toronto Maple Leafs. We'll go Toronto Maple Leafs. Keep it Ontario for a second. And we call them the Leafs, okay? And let's say the audio is the Leafs defense completely fell apart in the third period. Now, the distractor answer by the test could say, a Leafs defenseman got into a fight in the third period. You see, you heard defense and third period. But that's not what was said. We didn't say that Leafs defenseman got into a fight in the third period. The news report said the Leafs defense completely fell apart in the third period. So you see they used defense again and third period to trick you, okay? So careful, same meaning, different words. You need to eliminate that trap and find the paraphrase. Use official CELPIP materials. Now, this brings everything home. You can have the best strategies in the world, and if you're practicing with the wrong material, well, none of it's going to matter. So, you absolutely must use CELPIP practice materials. And I want you to go to the official CELPIP website. Here it is, celpip.ca. They've got they've got free tests. Use them. They're made by the people who make the real test. So they're going to be your single best resource. And remember, it's the official site. It's important. Remember, official. So can't beat that. And here's why it matters. By using the official stuff, it helps you with a couple of things. First, it gets you familiar with the unique question types in each part of each section. So especially, we're talking about listening section. It will give you samples so that you're familiar with the listening section. And secondly, it guarantees you're practicing with the right difficulty. So there's something for everyone. So try to find a difficulty that suits your needs. Okay, if it's permanent residency, you're going to need about a 6. If you have more grandiose things like trying to get into a Canadian university, you'll need a higher degree of difficulty. Also, too, secondly, the timing is right. So you get proper difficulty and the proper timing for your level. And also, too, by the official site, you'll hear authentic Canadian accents. And it'll be similar language that you're going to hear on testing day. So that's good. Now, I want to give you some warnings. There's a lot of third-party stuff out there. And look at it's junk. Don't waste your time with it. Frankly, it won't prepare you properly. Go to the official stuff. Spend your time on that. You'll be way ahead of the game. And let's put it this way. Practicing the right way with the right materials makes all the difference. Let's say you're a hockey player. If you're training to be a hockey player, ice hockey, you don't go and play road hockey. So you're on the road, and I used to play it as a kid. You've got a stick and a puck, but similar, but the rules are different. The timing, the surface, you're running around in winter boots or running shoes, whatever. You're not on skates. The surface is different. The speed is different. It's a completely different experience. So, same sort of analogy. You want to be a hockey player, don't think you're going to do it just by playing road hockey. You want to get great at Canadian CELPIP? Well, use the right official CELPIP materials. You'll thank yourself that you did, and hopefully me too. The art of moving on. Okay, one last piece of advice from your Uncle Rob. And this one's crucial. You're going to miss a question. And it happens to literally everyone. And, you'll zone out for a second. The audio is fast and it plays only once. But this is the worst single thing you can do, is dwell on it. The moment you start thinking, oh man, what was that answer? You've already stopped listening to the audio. And that one missed question that you had, it can snowball. And it can cost you 3 or 4 points. And, you don't want that to happen. So it's like, I think I used the hockey analogy, but it's like that hockey player who misses an open net. Don't just stand there staring at the net. You gotta skate back to the puck and try to get ready for the next plane and get ready for the next shot. So what you really have to do, if you miss one or you miss something, let it go. And do what you can, eliminate some bad options, and make your best guess. Then immediately refocus on the next test, on the next question. And there's no penalty for guessing. So your focus must always, always be on the question in front of you. Don't dwell on the past. So let's wrap this up. The biggest reason people fail the CELPIP listening test, it's not their English. It's that they're passively listening and trying to understand everything. And that creates stress, and that creates missed answers. And the solution, it's to become an active, strategic hunter. And you do this by one, be a detective before the audio even starts. 2, follow the signpost words that lead you to answers. 3, separate your tasks. First listen, then make tiny notes. 4, embrace real Canadian English through immersion. Shows like Schitt's Creek. Number 5, play the game with elimination. Stroke off the wrong answers and try for the good that way. Number 6, practice with official CELPIP materials only. Forget the other junk out there. And 7, master the art of moving on if you miss one or miss a question. And it's not about your English level, it's about your test day strategy. Make this mental shift from a passive student to an active hunter. You'll walk into that test, you'll be booming with all kinds of confidence, and you'll know what you're listening for. And you'll get the score you deserve. And we want you to do well. So thanks for watching, and best of luck on your CELPIP journey. I know you got this. And I'm Uncle Rob. I'm a certified TEFL teacher here in Ontario, Canada. And take care. And that's the complete CELPIP listening masterclass. 7 strategies, all in one place. Now you have everything you need to enter that test room feeling like a detective and not a nervous student. If this helped you, hit the like button and subscribe. And please drop your CLB level in the comments below. I read every single one. I'm Uncle Rob, certified TEFL teacher here in Ontario, Canada. And best of luck on your CELPIP test. I know you got this. Take care.